Hello, everybody. Welcome back. If you were here earlier this morning, earlier this afternoon, wherever you may be, whatever part of the world you may be, if you're tuning in after the fact, thank you for swinging by to the Yasuhiro0088. This is Dregn Durant of the Yasuhiro0088. Damn, that was repetitive already. Let's go. Hope you're all doing well in the short time it's been, but we are going to be jumping right back into exploring artificial intelligence. So, if you are new to the channel, what we do here is we take a look at some of these AI tools, we share our thoughts, we share our exploration process of how these tools work as we continue to learn about them, continue to look into the ethics behind them, continue to look at the conversation and the controversies that artists and creatives have with them, coming myself at least from a non-creative avenue, coming from business, technology, and security. AI is not something new to me. It's been around for many years, and well, within the past couple months alone, we've seen a lot of traction and a lot of social awareness when it comes to artificial intelligence. So we're looking to continue to explore these topics, and yeah, welcome, and hope you guys enjoy our process here. Give us that AI. Listen, you can't have my AI. My ship needs some kind of a pilot, okay? But the tools that are out there, those are free to explore, and we're going to be, well, we're going to be having that conversation. What's up, Xavier? Ahoy, ahoy. You're in the wrong channel, buddy. Let me get my pirate hat on. I don't have one yet, actually. I need one. But hope you're all doing well. And yeah, we're going to be jumping into part 2. So earlier today, Space Ahoy. Oh, much better. Thank you. Yeehaw. All right. But yes, we are going to be continuing part 2 of, well, I guess it's episode 3. So each of these streams are going to be a new episode and roughly about an hour to 2 hours long. We ideally will keep it closer to an hour so it is more consumable for you all, the viewers, and it is easier for me as someone who is trying to create YouTube content to edit. And, you know, it's a team of one at the moment, but we're hoping to change that sometime this year. And we look forward to exploring these topics and various ideas. And the Exploring AI series is one step that deeply fascinates me and is a direction that I am very interested in. And I think there is a blend of technology and creatives that, well, we should continue to have this conversation because having the conversation brings awareness to it, and that is the best way to make sure that AI grows in ways that we can all respect and appreciate, right? So that is our goal. Let's jump into it, and let's do it. So here we go. Now, earlier today, we had worked on, I guess let me go ahead and share the, I guess where should we start? Let's start with the process that we had gone through earlier today. Now, sharing, where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Hold on, my capture's not showing the browser. Where are you? There we go. All right, so taking a look, right? Earlier today, we had taken a look at ChatGPT, where we explored what kind of ideas would ChatGPT give us if we were to ask it to help provide some ideas to explore and build upon for, say, like a tabletop RPG campaign. Let's say we needed some points of interest, and we decided to test out this idea of a abandoned space station orbiting a black hole. So we got some very, very interesting details that could effectively be the premise of a D&D one-shot, for example, which was fascinating on its own. But what we're trying to do is not create just a single point of AI-based generation for the sake of an output and a product that is just done and done. We are trying to use a combination of these AI tools to create something a bit more unique, something with a bit of story, something that has a little bit, at least a little bit of human touch to it, right? So we asked the AI to give us a bit more of a description of what this space station exterior might look like, what kind of vibe we're looking at, and eventually came to some keywords, which we then moved to MidJourney. And MidJourney is one of the several AI art generation tools that are out there. At the moment, MidJourney is, again, my understanding of it is that their technology is quote unquote proprietary. So there's not a whole lot of available information on how they're doing this. But if anyone has a strong resource that explores it, do share it. Do reach out. I would love to take a closer look at exactly what's going on behind the scenes at MidJourney. But what we had generated is a series of, I guess, actually, rather than showing the Discord, let's actually come back to the browser. Hello, man, my capture for my browser is just acting up. But if we take a look at the MidJourney profile of mine, we generated many different variations of the prompt that the ChatGPT had provided for us, right? As we tweak the keywords, as we tried to explore different variations of it to try to capture a style and a vibe and a concept, right? Really a reference point, because again, this might have been for like a D&D campaign. Maybe it's privately used. Maybe in a bigger production, you would go to an artist to try to flesh out some concepts, and you would be able to find some reference material that really matches the type of visual that you're really trying to get the artist to explore, right? So we went through quite a few iterations of these various space stations, and I shared at the end of our previous stream various thoughts on kind of the trends with AI that I've noticed, my experience with various AI tools coming from the technology sector, as well as dabbling in many of the earlier text generation kind of tools that were really more used for like literature purposes, like Novel AI, AI Dungeon, or Dungeon AI, whatever it was called. And well, ChatGPT is the newest one, new kid on the block. It's freely available. Many people are talking about it and are interested in it. So yeah, we're obviously going to be exploring it. It's very fascinating. And then MidJourney has been very interesting in the type of artwork that it has been able to generate, right? You may notice in these streams that I hesitate to call it artwork, right? I often refer to the output as an output or material or generated works or whatever it might be, because we don't fully understand where the AI is really sourcing it. And again, with MidJourney, I don't quite fully understand yet what the technology behind it and how original it is, if it is quote unquote proprietary and whatnot. Whereas other tools, such as I think DALL-E, for example, are pulling their data from these very questionable data mining sources that have really gotten the creative community up in arms about the legality and the ethical nature of, hey, you pulled and data mined from the internet all sorts of imagery, whether it be an artist's work or even personal kind of imagery from, images of yourself that may have been uploaded to, say, social media, may have been captured in some of these quote unquote for research, not for profit organizations, which have found some loopholes in how they can acquire this massive amount of data without getting permission from anybody. And one of the chatters from the earlier stream actually had pointed out that who was it? Like I think it was like Microsoft. Bill Gates is a big funder of it. I had pointed out, I believe, even Elon Musk is a big financial supporter of OpenAI, which is responsible for ChatGPT as well as DALL-E. And then I also had seen an interview where the founder CEO, I want to say it was the founder CEO, who had done an interview with a mainstream media source, really just blatantly saying that, no, we didn't bother getting permission because it's difficult to get permission from all these different people. But it's like, bro, well, if it's just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's ethical, right? So we're going to, again, keep bringing awareness to it. And as we learn more, hope that we provide accurate information to some of these questions around it, and I hope to bring some of my expertise, or at least experience, from the tech sector and business sector and sales and security sectors, whereas a lot of the people commenting on AI artwork today, from what I've noticed, is really coming from the artistic and creative communities, right? So this is what we had done earlier today. And well, with episode 3, part 2 of exploring scenery and landscapes of AI, we're going to be looking in the reverse order of, rather than looking at ChatGPT to generate a prompt and a backstory for the artwork, we're now going to look at the artwork first and then reverse it into, okay, let's now take the vibe that we're seeing from this artwork and see what kind of ideas we can feed ChatGPT to then generate something fitting for the artwork that we are looking at. All right. Big helmet Dregn. All right, let me get caught up with the chat here real quick. I see a few of you guys out there. Thank you guys for hopping on. Glad to see you. Hope you're all doing well. But yeah, we got some what ups. What up, Cody? And we got Kieran here. Snap the queen of these nuts herself. Jeez. Ayo, I hear sandstorming coming. Oh boy. Good point. Good point. Yeah. What if there's an option for artists that when they upload their work that they can opt in? See, this is a big problem I have with business. And this is one of the reasons I got fed up with business and marketing, and I walked away from it a year ago when I started streaming. Yeah, if it hasn't been voiced, or I believe I've teased it a bit here and there, but I came from this kind of corpo world, and marketing and advertising I have big gripes with, because they just do what the numbers and what the big wigs and what the stakeholders tell them for the sake of the business's growth, and they really don't give two shits, unfortunately, about anyone else out there, right? And if these developers, if these organizations that are doing these types of ventures really even thought or cared about who these types of tools impacted, it should have been an opt-in program to begin with. But no, they decided to not tell anybody. They scraped the internet and data mined all sorts of information, and it's they really don't have anyone's best interest in heart. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna get into a rant if I keep going. But on the flip side, right, we see also platforms like DeviantArt, ArtStation, who were going to roll out their own variations of kind of AI using their own user base as the sample. But it's like, bro, I know with the user base having protested with this no AI protest that the artist had done, DeviantArt and ArtStation decided to roll back, or at least decided not to go in that direction. But see, I have a problem with business, because if ArtStation and DeviantArt as an organization actually cared about their user base and thought about their user base, they would have had artists opt in to the program to begin with. So frankly, yeah, they backed off because their customers are their users, and their users didn't like what they were doing. So they were at risk of losing their user base. And of course, they were going to please their user base. So yeah, I actually have an issue with ArtStation and DeviantArt, because if they actually cared about their user base from the get-go, they would have either asked first, or they would have made it opt-in to begin with. So yeah, business, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. So be diligent out there when you're looking and seeing some of the behaviors. I know a lot of us get jaded very easily in the age of social media and being on our phones, and this age of technology that we're all in. But everyone, I feel like everyone feels it. They just maybe are not aware of why they feel a certain way, right? So I'm here to bridge that gap, or at least that's my perspective of it. Maybe I'm jaded. Maybe I'm just bitter because I'm pissed at how unethical and how really no one gives two shits about their communities. But, obviously I'm thankful that the VTubing community actually has a bit of this kind of camaraderie through common interests, right? So let's go VTubers. But yeah, they need to make the monies. I know, stop it. I know how it is. But like, when an organization is pulling in billions and billions of dollars, and yet their lowest employee is barely scraping by, it's like, and the company's reporting that they're making 30 to 40%, growth year over year. It's like, okay, why can't we make it 10% growth year over year and feed the rest of your employees properly? Come on, man. I don't like it. And I wish I could change it, but trying to do it as one individual is difficult. So I'm hoping that we can find a way to make it work and contribute our own individual expertise to, make something for us that is sustainable, right? I had talked about this in my episode 0 of the new year to talk about, consistency within the community and obviously with the channel, and then also being able to grow in a way that is not only sustainable, but also scalable, right? Those I think are not only important for business, but I think also to some degree important for content creators and to varying degrees for the individuals as well, right? So I'm coming from that kind of a perspective. If you guys feel like I'm jaded, let me know. I don't mind. I'd rather he get the feedback because I rarely have ever gotten negative feedback in my life, and I'm probably jaded because of that too. It does suck. It does suck, but it is the world we all live in, right? I also know AI is a very touchy subject in this kind of creative world that we are all in, or at least in the streaming VTubing world. But hey, you know what? I don't mind. I do mind, but it is something that I think greatly interests me, and I want to explore it. So we're gonna do it. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope there's some good conversation that comes out of it. I heard this quote that was like, "Successful people say yes to everything. Really successful people say no to everything." Well, that's another problem that I have with some folks who are maybe who haven't made it, right? Is I never understood the reservations that people had to be vocal about their own needs with the organizations that they work for. I know there are statistics that say, what is it, like 60% of females don't bother asking for a raise. I think there's a smaller percentage of individuals, of males, who are uh, agreeable enough where they also don't really complain about like getting a raise or anything of that sort. But if a company was asking me to work twice the hours and I'm like, bro, like I'll do it, but you got to give me a raise in like the next 3 months, otherwise this isn't going to end well for us. Get that relationship with your manager, and if your manager's not on your side, then you're in a bad position, period. Right? The people who are working above you need to serve you, and if they are not doing that, you are in a very awkward hierarchy. So, dude, I was salaried too. You should have the conversation. If anything, it also just brings awareness to the people above you that, hey, I'm unsatisfied. We either need to make it right. And also, I know it's tricky, especially if you're at a point where you got like the golden handcuffs on, right? It's a little difficult, but I think that's why you need to be opinionated. You need to be disagreeable. You need to be able to stand up for yourself when it boils down to it, right? So, yeah. And also on the flip side, many people don't understand that when you look for other jobs, right? Your resume, for example, your resume is advertising yourself. And much like anything in the workforce in the business world, you have to prove to employers that you have value. And to some degree, maybe there's some smoke and mirrors, as all advertising is, but hey, stand up for yourself, right? Chin up. And if you feel like you are, I heard something recently, and I'm kind of segueing into a different topic here, but I heard something recently that people who feel burnout or are depressed, it's not it may be influenced by the environment, but if you are in a comfortable position but you are unhappy, it's oftentimes very likely that you're doing good work. It's just that your own self thinking is you're being like too hard on yourself. So and you know what, I probably fell for this as well, where it's like, I was in a good spot and I was being real hard on myself because it's like, man, the change that I want to see isn't happening. And I was maybe subconsciously feeling like I should have been able to make an impact, but also held myself back from doing it, right? So, government, ooh, yeah, government, any sort of public position is going to be a little trickier, unfortunately. But private sector, obviously changes that a little bit, or at least corporation side of things will change it a little bit. But it is obviously subject to everyone's conditions and circumstances, and there are all sorts of variables in life. So anyways, end of my soapbox rant on life and all the good things. Toxic workplace, just as awful. Sometimes you don't realize it's toxic until after. Oh yeah, I mean, you could say the same thing about relationships, right? Like in the moment of a relationship and the ups and downs and this roller coaster, you're like, it's horrible, but, you know, it's like, is it a but, or are you lying to yourself? You know, sometimes you just gotta sit down, take a day of vacation and just be like, is it worth it? And am I happy? And is the trade-off worth it, right? It's opportunity cost when it comes down to it. So anyways, that's not what today's episode is about. Today's episode here is about getting back into exploring some of this AI stuff. And again, seeing what we can do in the reverse order from what we had done earlier today. All right. Now, before I get into generating some new artwork to then try to build some prompts for, and maybe this again would be used for like a D&D campaign, maybe this would be used to provide as concept to an artist, or maybe it would be used to provide some visual reference for the purpose of a story or a storyboard, right? There's a lot of creative ways that the tools can be leveraged. Again, I think I firmly have come to the conclusion that the issue is not with the AI, is not with the tool, it's the method that we have come to this point, right? Which we talked about earlier today. So if you'd like to hear that part, go check the end of episode 2 from earlier today, and let me know what you think. Leave a comment. But coming back to Discord. All right, before we get started and start generating ideas, you guys hopping on in the chat. Hey, real quick, do you see that locker? Oh, is this some dumb joke, dude? Do I want to? Let me know if I'm missing something. But here's a very interesting statistic that I had just realized, because last I had seen a video, because I'm consuming a lot of content around the AI sphere at the moment. So I'm, again, as we continue these episodes, trying to learn and consume as much so that I can make sure that my information that I'm providing is accurate as it could be. And it's also, you know, educational for me as well as we explore it. But last I saw in a video, which was from like a few, I want to say it was like within the last month, there was a comment that came to mind. It's like, oh, you know, the MidJourney Discord has like over 1 million users in it, which was wild, right? I don't think I've ever heard of a Discord server that had over 1 million people. I think the most I've heard of is maybe like 300,000. Maybe I saw one that was 800,000. Yeah, I think I've seen an artist community that was 800,000, but they were saying like this, the MidJourney Discord has over 1 million people. Well, do you guys know roughly how many Twitch streamers exist? It's like 7.5 million streamers are on Twitch. Actually, you know what, here, I'll pull up real quick. What was it? It was Social Blade, right? I think has that statistic readily available. Let me check words. Okay, 7.1 million Twitch streamers according to Social Blade. You want to see something insane? Check this out. Going back to Discord, switching over to the MidJourney Discord. How many members do you guys see on this Discord server? There are more members in the MidJourney Discord server than there are alleged Twitch streamers. What do you guys think of that? What do you think of that? That is insane. Yeah. No, I mean, Discord, to be fair, is a massive organization behind the scenes. I talked about this in the earlier episode too. Discord is severely underlooked at by the community that uses it. They are massively funded, massively huge. I think Microsoft tried to buy them out? I forget exactly. But yeah, almost 7 point. I bet you by the end of this month, there's going to be 7.6 million people in the MidJourney Discord. Absolutely insane. So unfortunately, hey, Rig, nice to see you. Unfortunately, as much as artists like to complain about AI generation, which, again, I fully support artists. I fully understand their qualms with the certain organizations who have data mined just billions of data and sites and images, and done it in a way that I would also agree is not quite ethical. It's a big gray area and it's kind of effed up. I hate this too. YouTube actually pushed out a new terms of service, and they're starting to punish any sort of foul language, unfortunately. So anyone who's posting things on YouTube who are hoping to get monetized by YouTube, watch your F-bombs, unfortunately. It's I'm already F'd on my channel because we got Neff on here all the time, but you know. We love Neff. We're okay. We'll be fine. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, AI, I think from the majority of artists that I've viewed content of talking about this, they all are in support, or the vast majority are in support. And I'd say, again, like 80% plus are in support of new tools, new technologies. The issue, again, is the organization behind the AI tool, who is a for-profit, and their parent organizations, which are for non-profit, under the guise of research, are finding these gray areas to gather all this data because there's no laws that necessarily are limiting their ability to do that under the guise of quote unquote research. Whereas the company is the front of the company is this for-profit organization, right? So yeah, there's some questions there, but again, we're exploring it in hopes of, one, seeing what these tools are all about, learning about them, but also again, bringing awareness to some of the controversies and our thoughts around them. But yes, very, very fascinating times, isn't it? Also, the auto-generate captions have been messing up also. So a lot of channels for kids, I saw news about this. Yeah, so if the caption, for example, says that, let's say, hey, it's time to go to Funktown, and the caption thinks that you say, it's time to go to Fucktown. It's yeah, whose fault is that? And you know what? This is all a big problem because the business world, and I can speak towards this, and anyone who's working in business to any degree has probably seen a certain degree of automation start to creep into their process, their auditing, their analytics, their, I don't know, all sorts of stuff, right? Whether it's AI powered or if it's machine learned, right? Automation is really at the core of how this is all happening because, you know, people in tech, and tech kind of sort of rules the world at the moment, is pushing more and more automation. So it's times are changing, times have been changing. Again, coming from my business background, it's been around for years, right? So this isn't like a last 2 to 4 months deal. This is like a last 3 to 6 years deal, right? So true, the data mining is an issue. This is why my personal portfolio site has a disclaimer that anything here is created artwork, do not permit. I think more artists need to do that. Yeah, I think more artists need to explicitly add disclaimers to their portfolios that say, hey, my works are not, you cannot take this for AI learning purposes or for referencing purposes without my permission, because by having that disclaimer there, it's a little tricky when it's after the fact, but as long as you have some sort of a disclaimer there, and if somebody breaks that disclaimer, technically, as far as I'm aware, that's you could potentially take some action saying that, hey, this has been here for years, and now you're telling me that you've used my information and I haven't heard a word about it. I'm pretty sure there's some legal grounds there that you could pursue if it came down to it, right? So yeah, if you're an artist out there and you haven't already added some form of disclaimer saying that, hey, we can't do this, or you're not allowed to do this, I think you should, right? Better safe than sorry. I mean, as much as the legal crap is full of jargon and pisses me off too, because it's made in a way where the layman just is so jaded by it, they don't want to think about it, right? I think people need to varying degrees, need to also protect themselves. But yeah, anyways, don't want to get too off track here. All right, but welcome everybody. So yeah, MidJourney, 7.5 million. I could not, I heard it was 1 million plus, and then I came over here and saw 7. I'm like, whoa, insane. I just added, please do not use for AR training or commission TOS. Yeah, there you go. Oh man, unbelievable. Oh, crazy, crazy world. All right, so let's come back here. Did you guys think of some ideas? So earlier, right, we had gone with the ChatGPT generated some ideas. We went with the kind of space station, abandoned space station idea, and we tried to see what we could see, what we can make, what we can generate, what fit the vibe of what this ChatGPT output was. So what we're going to be looking at here is now looking at a prompt. And what should we make? I was thinking earlier that we'll maybe try with like a metropolis, something planet side might be a good idea. And as our channel is themed for sci-fi, I do think we should probably go with a sci-fi swamp in. Ooh, what the hell is that? Swamp in space? What? Okay, you know what? Let's try that. That's interesting. Come on. Sci-fi swamp in space. What in the world is going to come out of this? Let's find out. And again, I'm a bit curious about MidJourney and their quote unquote proprietary, whatever they're doing in the back. But from what I could tell, MidJourney is doing some sort of a statistical scattering, and based on the learned behavior of how users are leveraging this tool, it's fine tuning the type of output it's going to provide, right? Is at least what I'm seeing, which you can kind of tell because I can put in very particular keywords like a name of an individual. Like I think I tried doing like Uncle Ben, right? Which if you think of Uncle Ben, and if you Google Uncle Ben, you're probably going to get an image from Spider-Man, right? I didn't get that. I just got some old dude. So I don't know what MidJourney is doing, but it does seem to be a bit more unique than some of the other AI generation tools that are out there. So again, if anyone knows a bit more about the back end and the technology behind MidJourney, do let me know. How many Uncle Bens are there? I mean, there's probably a lot of Uncle Bens, I would imagine. Now, MidJourney is actually quite terrifying because when it comes to environments in particular, though it provides some very interesting imagery, like look at just the view here and the detail here. It's definitely something that you should, if you are a creator, get your feet wet and see how you feel about it, because I do find that in this year alone, assuming that my prediction that AI isn't going to start looping in kind of fine-tuned, hey, the majority of people want to see this type of artwork or whatever outputted when you type these types of prompts, you start getting kind of these cyclical responses from the AI, and cyclical, I think that's the right word, right? Yeah, it starts kind of defining common results based on oftentimes used keywords, which I saw a lot when it came to the older text generators, right? Like again, Dungeon AI, Novel AI, where at a certain point in the life cycle of them being live, we started seeing a lot of kind of looping material, or the AI just started going in directions that, regardless of, where you start in the story, you started getting very similar concepts showing up, right? So all of these have the same composition, a little bit. I could see that. Yeah, it definitely took swamp. And this was another trend that I had noticed earlier today when we had done the space station artwork, which was, for initially we had defined that, hey, ChatGPT said it was a cylindrical space station. So we included that as part of our prompts. And we got some cylindrical looking space stations. A lot of them had like a donut hole in the center, but towards the end of our previous episode, we got rid of the cylindrical keyword, and rather than giving us like blocky space stations or ones that more resemble like our International Space Station, we still got some very like donut shaped circular space stations. So I'm a little curious to see in the next few months, or maybe towards the end of this year, depending on how quickly these results start getting fine-tuned. Like, are we just going to run into the same problem that we saw with a lot of the text generators? AI in the field of security was a very different, because it's more defined as far as what it's intended to do, right? Like for security, we saw a lot of machine learned AI powered like security scanning tools and analytic tools, right? Which is looking at data recognition to then bring, what's the word? it was data analytics, essentially powered by artificial intelligence or slash machine learning. Generally, I saw more of the latter where it's machine learning, but AI machine learning, it's kind of they're in bed together, right? So I do wonder if we're going to start to see a lot of very common results in time based on some of these keywords, right? So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I have seen certain creators use like reference images, which will then force the AI to change kind of the style and the visualization of what it's generating. But to avoid risking, going after using references that aren't our own, because again, we're not about to start using things without permission. Perhaps in a future episode, I'll reach out to some creators and be like, hey, could I get some permission to use like one or two works of yours to see what happens, right? If anyone in chat would like to send me an image that they would allow me to use, I would appreciate that. But if not, I fully understand. So at the moment, for at least the beginning of the Exploring AI series, we're just leveraging the raw prompt-based generation that these tools have to offer for now, right? We started initially with a character, which worked out pretty well. And then today we're looking at landscape and scenery. And then probably in a future date, we're going to be looking at objects. At some point, we'll probably be looking at some other concepts as well. But we're going to explore some various ideas and see kind of what it does, right? If you want a very badly drawn, dude, give me a stick figure. I will take it. I will take a stick figure and see what it does. I would be very interested to see what would happen if we took a stick figure, because I saw a very interesting video from a YouTuber, which I can't remember if this guy was an artist in particular, but I like give me a very stupid VTuber phrase. Like, what's something that like you're like, what kind of art could be created by this weird sentence or even just a word? Like, what's a dumb word people say? Like ooh, let's go with ooh. Let's see what ooh does. Right? We'll see what ooh does. Let's see if it's going to give us a female or if it's going to go in a completely wild direction. I don't know. I've never tried this one. I got you. I'll send a worst soul I made. Dragon Catgirl Gamer. It doesn't know who Dragon is. I could. Oh, Degen. Okay. Every time I see like Degen, I mix it up with my name, bro. And that's Ellie. So actually, girl. But okay. So it looks like it's going with. Okay. This style. I feel like I've seen this type of visual style before. And here's another thing I've noticed with a lot of the female characters that get generated by this AI. This little button nose. I think I remember seeing years ago that the statistics for what people find attractive, this kind of like a button nose look is actually like up there as far as like ideal what people would vote as more attractive compared to others. So I feel like the fact that I'm noticing a trend, right? I generally am pretty good at oh my god, this stream's already getting derailed. I see some messages in Discord already. So ooh, e-girl, this checks out, right? Oh man. But yeah, this button nose, I've noticed this trend with certain female generation here where they keep giving us this button nose female appearance. And I'm starting to think like, okay, are we going to be able to see any other nose types, or is it all going to filter to this type of button nose look? You know? Soul, calm down. Right? All right. Do I derail this? No, come on guys. We got to try to stay a little focused. I've already added an image here in my episode 3. It's fine. Do it, Dragon. Okay, listen. We'll give people who are watching this, some people aren't here live. Maybe they'll see it after the fact. If you want to send me something, emails in the about in my YouTube. You can find me on Twitter, links in the description. Send me something random. It's fine. As long as it's original, as long as it's yours, as long as you're giving me permission to use it and you have the rights to tell me that I can use it, right? We'll do this on Monday. We'll do like a community edition of AI, Exploring AI. All right, this will be on Monday. We'll do it Monday. All right. So Sci-fi swamp in space, right? Let's go back to this, guys. And then let's also, I'm going to do it like 2 more times, right? We're going to do it 2 more times just to see the different types of output that it can provide. And while those are generating, let's take again a closer look at this, right? So swamp in space. It's not really swamp in space, is it? Maybe it's because I added sci-fi in front of it. Not sure. Definitely it has, this one kind of gives, the top left gives a bit of a UFO vibe. The top right is kind of sort of interesting. Definitely has a sci-fi vibe to it. The bottom left is really just a pure out landscape, but this is totally just planet side. Nothing too special about it, I don't think. Bottom right is cool, kind of a cabin in the woods deal going on. You know what's insane is actually the reflection, though not perfect, is actually reflecting a few of the key kind of highlights, right? And you guys, some of you guys in the chat, I know you guys, so you know the artists out there. I don't know what the terminology would be, but surprisingly, there's an attempt has been made by the AI to do reflection. Actually, the tree on the left, the tree on the right for this bottom right image, and even the kind of planet or moon or whatever in the background is kind of reflected in the water. How crazy is that the AI generation is pulling this off? Again, maybe there's some reference shenanigans going on in the background. We're not entirely sure. But my understanding of MidJourney is that it's doing like a scatter plot and statistical generation based on kind of the various prompts and user feedback that it's had, as well as the, I guess, commonalities of whatever data set it might be pulling from. And I haven't quite found what data set it's pulling from because from what I have been able to find, they're hiding it behind this proprietary quote unquote technology, quote unquote. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. I'm sure it's done by now. Ooh, these are a bit more interesting. I like this top left one that has like a craft or like a science facility or something going on there. It definitely has, I like how the trees have some similarities. I suppose swampy trees has this kind of, I don't know what type of tree this would be classified as, but you know, it's very interesting. It's also possible that if it equal water, then the image above is duplicated, flipped, warped, and blurred. Possible, right? There could be some algorithm there that is saying, yeah, actually, you can see that in almost every single one of these where, yeah, you're right. Maybe it's a simple matter of fact where it's like, hey, this section of the image is fluid, right? And may require some sort of reflection, which, you know what? There have been tools that I've played with on mobile that have what is it? The ability to detect backgrounds, right? So you could do like a replacement of the backdrop, or you can do the tool itself will recognize the character in the foreground and it'll cut out the entire background of the image. You might need to clean it up a little bit, but yeah, no, I mean, I think Photoshop even has some of these types of tools built in, right? I know Adobe, from what a couple videos I've seen, people are fairly satisfied with the approach that Adobe is taking. But I've also worked with Adobe. Adobe is a massive organization. There's tons of different teams. And for the most part, my experience with Adobe has been overall very positive. They're usually, the people working at Adobe generally seem to have the best interest of their product and their offering and the people working there at heart. So shout out to the Adobe folks out there. At least the ones I worked with. I don't know about the rest of the company. It's a huge org. So that said, okay, I think out of the 2 samples though we looked at so far, I'd rather pull something from this one. I really like that kind of green glow we got going on this bottom left one too. And then whatever the structure is, we see some like pillars. I'm not really sure what that is. The moon looks like it's a little lopsided, but that's all right. Okay. For those joining the Explore AI series for the first time, the way that the MidJourney generation works is that the top left is 1, top right is 2, bottom left is 3, bottom right is 4. So keep that in mind if you want to make comments about a particular one, a particular image generated here. Top left, ooh, I like this vibe. What is that, a planet or some rings or some clouds? I can't tell what it is in the background there, but we got some mossy looking lily pads up in the front. Again, the water reflection. So yeah, Rig, you might be onto something, that it might just simply be recognizing that, hey, this is a water type surface reflect what is not water type surface, right? Bottom left sucks. Who made it? I don't know what's going on with this bottom left one, bro. Top right one, man, what is this? What does this type of structure remind me of? It's not quite Miyazaki, but I feel like there's another Japanese animation that kind of has this vibe to it. Am I mistaken there? Anyone recognize Yoda's hut, Star Wars? Oh, yeah, you know what? It does do Star Wars very, very closely. It does reference Star Wars very well. I did a couple tests of Star Wars. I forget where, but yeah, Star Wars is definitely within the data set because you'll get like a good ass stormtrooper, not an ass stormtrooper, but a stormtrooper. You know what I mean. Grunge Dragon Ball. Yeah, maybe a little bit, huh? All right. Who was it that recommended this prompt? It was Kieran, right? You the one that said the where is it? Where is it? Swamp in Space, Kieran. All right. You still out there? You wanna I do like the color for the bottom left or bottom right here though, this kind of turquoisey blue. All right, Kieran. Did you see one that you're interested in? We'll maybe try to take that image and go over to ChatGPT and see once again what kind of backstory we can come up for this type of place. It's going to be a little bit more involved in our input, but so the first one again seems to have some structures. Again, top left one, the bottom right four. But second sample set. Second try top right. Second try top right. So this one right here, top right here. I believe that's the one. Second try top right. I believe that's the one. All right, so what we're going to do is rather than upscaling it right away, let's get some variations for, so the one, your one, the one on my top right. Yeah. All right, so number 2, right, top right of this image here. Yep. So let's make some variations, which is going to basically take that image and it's going to give us 4 variations based on that one, using it as a parent for the generation. So maybe we'll be able to catch kind of what the visual is as it's building it out. We did switch over to fast mode at the end. So yeah, you can see the baseline is kind of sort of similar. Using, if you were to upload a reference image, it would kind of do something very similar there. And overall, these outputs are going to be very similar to one another, right? Because they're, again, just variations based on that parent image. So the variations are including a little differences. I see on the top left here, number 1, looks like there's something going on in the background. Top right one looks pretty clean, although the canopy almost looks like it's reflective, which is an interesting little effect going on there. I don't know if that's just my imagination. Looks like we're underwater. Bottom left looks pretty clean with some kind of a structure out in the distance from the looks of it. And then the bottom right has these interesting, not even sure what those are supposed to be, but there's some floaty objects going on here. I'm not sure how I feel about that. There we go. Brain went kind of dumb. Well, trust me, mine's running on fumes right now as well. I'm going to be taking hopefully a short nap after this, but let's see here. All right, so we have some variations here. I think this will be decent. Let's see here what looks pretty good. Let's I think this top right one looks a little interesting. So let's upscale number 2 here. And we'll get a larger image that we can then try to build some sort of prompting with. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to reverse engineer the prompt. Well, how should I phrase this? We're going to try to generate some keywords based on what we see. So if you guys look at this image and see some keywords that you think would be appropriate and you want to chime in, feel free to do so. We'll try to include that and incorporate it into our description. We'll send those keywords to try to have ChatGPT describe the scene using those keywords. And then if the ChatGPT result is aligning with the visual and we feel like there's a little fine tuning that needs to be done, we'll ask ChatGPT to then generate some sort of a lore backstory to be used as part of, say, again, we'll continue with the trend of like a D&D tabletop RPG campaign, right? So I think that might be what we do here. All right. You say fast. Gotta go fast. Come on, MidJourney. You know what? I'm sorry, guys. I forgot to use the restroom before we got started, so I'm gonna BRB. And while I'm BRB, I'll leave the window up so you guys can see what it looks like once it generates. Here we go. Oh, wrong button. All right, we're back. Let's take a look, shall we? Get back down here. All right. So this is what we have. What do we got here? Let's take a closer look. I already see some of you guys. Dragon go doo-doo rude. Dwagan, excuse me, please. Biolumin. Ooh, that's a good word. Bioluminescence. I see it. Yep. Okay, so it looks like it actually added these kind of hanging. Yeah, these are like bioluminescent, like hanging, almost what? Almost like lights. Definitely swampy. We definitely got to include swampy, right? I guess round. What would we describe these kind of round trees? There's a word for these swampy trees, and I am blanking on it. These very kind of there's a name for this type of tree, and I just don't know enough about it. Where is our what's the where's our is it botanist? Are they the ones that know about plants? They are, right? Wetlands is a good one. Yeah, I think we can definitely use like a wetland swamp. Yeah, so let's see here. How can we? All right, we're gonna be going to ChatGPT. Now we'll keep brainstorming here. I'll just jot it down here. All right, let me go ahead and grab a pen and paper. We'll make some notes while we're talking about this image. So yeah, we definitely got to add swampy. Swampy wetlands for sure. All right, and then we got some like hanging bioluminescent. Hanging bioluminescent vines. Yeah, it's like a bioluminescent vine. We're probably gonna get a slightly different description there, but they're almost like baobab trees, but those are for savanna. Ooh, you know what? That yeah, that might be. I think I know which ones you're talking about. Let me do a quick search, see what that looks like. You know what? If we can't figure out exactly what type of trees this resembles, we'll maybe try to use that just to give it an idea of the size of the tree, right? That might be a good idea. They're kind of mixed between mangroves. Mangrove. Yeah. Rig, you're right, man. What a wealth of knowledge you got in your noggin. Yeah, so maybe we'll say trees resembling mangrove and baobab. I think that's how you pronounce it, right? Baobab? Baobab? I do not know my trees. Oh, you're not the only one, bro. Corey, you know about plants, right? No. Got to get her back somehow. All right. Let's see. What else? What else? We got like reflective. I don't know if reflective necessarily matters in this case, but yeah. What else do we see here? Definitely, I guess a mossy. It's definitely has like a mossy what is it? What's the word for like the soil? I guess I don't know if I'd call it lush though. It kind of looks like it's overgrown. Like the branches I see on the ground definitely gives me more of a, I don't know, what is the descriptor for that? Lily pads? I don't know if those are lily pads. It kind of looks like I don't know if you guys have ever seen videos of like Florida swamps or uh, parts of like Africa where there's just like these mossy growths that kind of float around, right? That have detached from maybe rocks or from currents or whatever. And they kind of floating moss. Is that a technical term for it? Might be grow mats. Is that a plant term or is that a you making stuff up on me now? I know you actually are not the type to do that, but no, dude. No, dude. Might be grow mats. I must be searching something wrong here. I'm getting gardening supplies. But I believe floating moss is actually a term. That sounds familiar. Floating moss. Yeah. I think floating moss is a good keyword. Floating moss. Good one. All right. And I can't tell what these like are these rocks in the water? Maybe we don't really need to go into too much depth with that, but water I can't really see if the water looks shallow. Definitely it's all reflective, so that doesn't help. And well, let's start with that and see what ChatGPT comes up with, right? So now that we're looking at an image, right? We're now trying to describe the image, which this is something I actually do as part of D&D campaigns all the time. I'll look for a reference image, and then in the Horizon Exploration campaign we run on Sundays, we would use we previously were using Wombo Dream, but I might be moving over to MidJourney to see what kind of visuals that can provide for vibe check. But yeah, definitely those seem like pretty good terms for a starting point. Swamp and Avatar Last Bender. I been many years. Space Florida. Man, what if I just was like describe Space Florida? You know what? Just for the fun of it, let's do that. Let's see what Space Florida description is going to come out to be. So, let's swap over to the browser. Heading over here. Let's see if it captures my window. Nope, I got to open it manually. All right. All right, so here, let's go ahead and start a new chat because we want to make sure that the memory of the AI is clean. Otherwise, there's a chance that it might pull from the previous episodes that we had done. So we want to avoid that, right? So we'll do the first one, just be like, describe Space Florida. Describe Space Florida. Let's see what it says. What in the? Oh no, it's taking space literally. Ah. Okay. No. I mean space themed Florida. I mean a description of the visual landscape of Space Florida. Let's try that. Let's see what it's apologizing to me. Oh man, you're going to get an amusement park. It's like I misunderstood. It's not possible for a visual landscape place called Space Themed Florida. Come on. Oh, come on. All right. You fail. New try. Last try. How can we do it? Describe Florida in a sci-fi setting. You gonna actually try it? Okay, here we go. Let's go. Let's go. What is it gonna do? To describe. Okay, I'm gonna wait for it to finish so I can read it properly. I called it. Is it futuristic infrastructure? Ooh, maybe. Yeah, maybe, huh? Oh man. All right, so what is it? To describe Florida in a science fiction setting, one might imagine a future version of the state with advanced technologies and futuristic infrastructure. All right, pretty expected out of sci-fi. The beaches and sunny weather might be a major draw, but they could be enhanced by the presence of flying cars and other futuristic transportation methods. Isn't this just Futurama? It would just be called Florida-rama. The cities could be filled with towering skyscrapers and neon lights, and the natural areas could be home to exotic genetically engineered plants and animals, because Florida needs more genetically engineered plants and animals, right? Come on. The space industry could also play a larger role in the Florida of the future, with spaceports and trading facilities for space travelers dotting the landscape. Overall, Florida in a science fiction setting could be a vibrant and exciting place full of possibilities and adventures and discovery. Well, that's kind of Florida today, isn't it? I mean, all right. We tried. All right, let's start a new one. We're gonna go to. I would like to flesh out the concept for a sci-fi tabletop RPG using. Actually, well, hold on. Flesh out the concept for a tabletop RPG setting. Describe the landscape scenery using the following key phrases. I want to call it phrases because some of these are a bit longer. Genetically engineered plants and animals in Florida. Oh no, right? Man, this is what happened. This is what happens with space, or not space. This is the origin of Godzilla, but rather than Japan and New York, it's Florida and somewhere. All right, so we're gonna go with a swampy wetlands. Swampy wetlands with floating moss, trees resembling mangrove and baobab trees with hanging bioluminescent God, what would I call it? Bioluminescent light sources at the end of hanging vines. Let's add a little more detail there. Of hanging, yeah, rather than vines. I feel like vines, we might get like some Christmas light looking thing. So let's go with flora. Hanging flora, that's a good one. Yeah, let's see what it says here. So yeah, we're gonna just merge and say it's a swampy wetland with floating moss. Actually, let's say scattered with floating moss and trees resembling mangrove and baobab trees with hanging bioluminescent light sources. Hanging bioluminescent light sources at the end of, now I'm repetitive here, with bioluminescent light sources hanging at the end of hanging flora. Yeah, let's see what this says. Sure, here's a description. All right, actually, again, gonna wait for it to finish. And let me see here. Let me make sure I open up the image in the browser as well, so we can easily tab over to it if we need. All right, let's see. So the landscape is a murky, swampy wetlands dotted with shallow pools of stagnant water, which that's pretty good, and patches of soft, spongy ground. Ooh, that's also pretty good. The air is heavy and humid. The air is heavy and humid, and the sound of insects and other creatures fill the air. Sounds like Florida to me. The ground is dotted with trees, which is, oh, interesting. Yeah, you know what? Our image does have like trees scattered about the ground. So interesting how we managed to get that kind of result here. Dotted with trees resembling mangrove. Oh no, this is going with smaller ones though. Okay, we might need to change it to the trees being large. No, no. Actually, no. I'm just reading it wrong. So yeah, the ground is dotted with trees resembling mangrove and baobab trees with thick trunks and gnarled roots. Oh, perfect. That rise up from the water and the ground. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. Hanging from the branches of these trees are long, thin tendrils of vegetation which seem to glow with a faint bioluminescent light, which kind of sort of works. These light sources provide a dim and eerie illumination to the swamp, casting shadows among the trees and across the water. The air is thick with the smell of decay and the musky scent of the swamp itself. Huh. Take it easy, Soul. I don't know about you guys, but I think we hit a pretty good jackpot. All right. I'm going to say save, or not save, but for comparison, give me 2 more variations. All right. Well, let's see just for variation's sake if it does what it does differently. And we'll wait. So it looks like it's going to go ahead and separate it. It's another interesting thing with the ChatGPT is that it does a surprisingly good job with like punctuation as well. Like if you asked it to do an outline, it will actually build out an outline. If you ask it to do a list, it'll make you a proper list. You could actually ask ChatGPT to write you like the baseline for coding as well, and it'll actually put it in a code box, or I forget the terminology for it. But all right, we're getting close to the end here. But ChatGPT, although I have issue with the parent company OpenAI, after what I've learned, ChatGPT is certainly a very interesting, and I think I'm coming to the conclusion that I see ChatGPT as the evolution of what Google was back in the day. And I'll maybe at the end of this episode I'll explain why. Typically we end up talking a little bit at the end about kind of my thoughts and what I see and kind of my conclusions based on what we've done. So, but yeah, so the first variation. The swamp is a vast, tangled network of waterways and wetlands with thick vegetation growing along the banks and in the shallow water. The trees here are tall and twisted with gnarled roots that rise up from the water like bony fingers. Okay, I could see that. The branches of these trees are thick and heavy, laden with long, hanging vines and tendrils of moss that seem to shimmer with a faint, otherworldly light. Excuse me. These light sources provide an eerie, otherworldly glow to the swamp, casting shadows across the water and illuminating the way for travelers. The air is heavy with the smell of decay and the sweet, heady scent of the flowers that grow along the banks. I don't really think we had flowers, so unfortunately that variation I think is not going to work for us, right? And variation 2. The swamp is a dark, foreboding place filled with twisted and gnarled trees that resembles mangroves and baobab. The ground is soft and spongy, and the air is thick with the sound of insects and the smell of decay. Really, they like to emphasize this decay, huh? We kind of had that in the original response, too. The trees here are tall and twisted, with thick, heavy branches that hang low over the water. From these branches hang long, thin tendrils of vegetation that seem to glow with a faint bioluminescent light. These light sources provide a dim, eerie illumination to the swamp, casting shadows among the trees and across the water. The air is thick with the smell of again with the decay, okay, a little repetitive, and the musky scent of the swamp itself. Now, kind of what's interesting, I feel like the first variation focused a bit on like the first half, whereas the variation 2 felt a bit more resembling of the second half. Like it feels like it kind of split it in two and emphasized different parts of it, but maybe that's just my imagination. But yeah, based on kind of the 2 variations, I still kind of feel like this original example is maybe a little more accurate in describing the imagery that we managed to provide here. Or not even provide, we're really just trying to fill in the blanks using keywords, right, is kind of what we're working on here. Clearly, they have a limited word bank when associating things with swamps. Yeah, that's true. Swamp probably has a very fixed number of key terms that it associates with, right? So, yeah, there's definitely some of that work at play, most likely. So, yeah, this much like I think our character creation episode, where we started with kind of a character bio, and it's very straightforward to describe a character. The challenge that we had earlier with the space station is that I guess maybe it was the sci-fi space aspect. Maybe we tried to do a too complex of a scene, and generating the image for that complex scene was a bit of a challenge for MidJourney to generate. But I typically have found, at least my use of AI generated works for the D&D campaign I run, it's much easier to generate a landscape that fits a vibe that a person is envisioning for a project or a campaign or a concept, and then coming back and fine-tuning the description for it, either by just your own creative efforts, or in this case, where we try to combine multiple uses of AI tools to generate a more, I guess, overarching imagery of description with imagery. And maybe in a future episode, we'll even incorporate some AI generated music to try to find some tracks to accompany the vibe of what we're building here, right? But for now, using just descriptors and generating a bit of a descriptor for the landscape itself, I'm pretty happy with this alone. I do think I would probably make a few updates, right? So ChatGPT, I probably wouldn't recommend most people just take what it outputs and go with it. I'd probably, make it a bit more personalized to whatever environment and your style of describing it. But as far as getting just a very quick idea of, hey, I need a starting point, this is actually really good. Yeah, murky, swampy wetlands, shallow pools, stagnant water. Like, I didn't even consider stagnant, and it went ahead and added that for us, which is great. And then the patches of spongy ground. Yeah, I can definitely see some spongy ground. Spongy ground? Spongy ground. Yeah. Heavy and humid. We didn't even bother describing the air, so this is definitely pulled probably just from the keywords of it being a swampy wetland, right? Sound of insects and other creatures, probably also from the same keywords. And then dotted with trees. I don't know if dotted is the word. This is probably the one word in the entirety of this that I'd want to. I understand that the usage of it is that it's kind of scattered and dotted throughout the landscape, but yeah, I think you can make some tweaks, right, to the description here to better than match the environment. So from my just own enjoyment of how I would use these, right, it would be for like a D&D campaign. And if I need to create, say, hey, my party is in a location and there's potentially like 5 directions that they can go. Well, if you're doing the prep work for that, if anyone runs D&D campaigns, the difficulty of trying to predefine locations for the characters versus the illusion of choice of maybe setting 3 locations. Sorry if I misspoke earlier. 3 locations or even 2 locations. Just one if they go left, one if they go right type of a deal. So there's a few tricks that you can do from just the storytelling aspect from D&D, of course. But as far as, hey, if I really want to say flesh out a planet, which is one of the challenges that I've had with the sci-fi campaign, which is how do I build this planet which potentially has hundreds of points of interest, right? Now, fortunately, my party didn't really decide to go, in every opposite direction that I had described. So I was able to filter them to kind of one of 3 locations at a time. And I usually plan 3 locations at minimum. And, if you are a GM looking for ideas to flesh out maybe many, many different locations, maybe some to pull out of a hat when you need it, depending on the landscape, AI is a very interesting tool to help ease that load rather than trying to scour the internet for reference images and vibe images to give your party an idea of what they're walking into, as well as just a brief, visual descriptor of, hey, what can the party expect, right? From a, I would imagine, right, from like a concept perspective, maybe like a game developer, I could imagine seeing this in some kind of a video game, right? Maybe it wouldn't look like this depending on, the console or platform it's on and the style of the game, but you could say, hey, these types of trees, for example, that through hundreds of AI generated images, I came across these trees. I think these trees are real cool. They kind of look like mushroom clouds. Maybe there's some sort of a lore there that they could build upon. So definitely from the, I guess, my thoughts of the creative sphere, that I feel like there are definitely ways to use AI tools, at least for inspiration. But again, I know a lot of the arguments against AI at the moment is due to that data mining aspect and the legality of it, right? So yeah, what did you guys think? I think that is we're about an hour and 20 minutes in. That's roughly about the time that I'd like to keep these types of episodes too, right? We do a couple of these a day. Maybe if we're feeling really good, we'll do 3 of them a day. But short, consumable, little 1-hour sessions of exploring a couple of AI tools, kind of looking into it. Obviously, if you're a non-creative who doesn't have an ounce of artistic talent in you, this might be an avenue to explore. Just again, be very aware of some of the controversies around it. In my opinion, are very warranted from what I've looked into it and from what I understand of it. But also from an artistic point of view, I do think that it is inevitable because, again, coming back to the MidJourney Discord, 7.5 million people on it. There are more people in the Discord for MidJourney than there are Twitch streamers, according to Social Blade. That is still mind-blowing to me that a single Discord server has that many people. I would have been impressed if it was like 1.3 million people, but 7.5, pushing 7.6. Yeah, unfortunately, there are not that many artists either, right? So yeah, what's going to happen with AI in the near future? I think definitely more people need to realize just the scale and the speed, not to mention the speed that this type of technology grows at. Like in the past, before I became a VTuber, right, I was in cybersecurity, business sales for almost a decade. In the last 2 years alone, there was so much change that happened from cloud computing to machine learning. It's only going to get faster from here on out. So again, my prediction earlier was we're going to see some pretty significant advancement with AI generated tools I want to say in the next 4 months alone, but guaranteed by the end of 2023. It's going to change quick, right? Assuming the AI learning process doesn't fall into some of the pitfalls I've seen other AI tools run into, it's definitely going to be a challenge. And I had watched quite a few artists talking about it, and it's interesting because I think a couple of my takeaways at the moment, right, is one, I think the strongest argument against people supporting AI that I've seen is just the sheer lack of, I don't know if it's lack of oversight or lack of regard, right? That these parent organizations, which they're all corporate run, they're all financially investor run. All these large tech companies are backing them. So unfortunately, like Microsoft has a monopoly on so much. Did you guys know? I don't know if you guys know this, but Microsoft, Bill Gates is the largest Western owner of farmland right now. And how Microsoft in general is able to consume so many different verticals that are not even tech specific and not be broken up as a monopoly is mind-blowing to me. Like, this has been going on for what, 8 years now? How long has it been that Microsoft has been an insane monopoly? I guess even longer than that if you really think about their their reach into like the education sphere as well. Yeah. Not to mention their influence in the political sphere, not to mention their influence in the financial sphere and then the investment sphere. Like it's insane. It's absolutely mind blowing that nothing has happened. So if people can't even band together to stop Microsoft or bring awareness to the monopoly and the growth that Microsoft has consuming all these other businesses, and I mean, I will give Microsoft credit that they do hold their brand in the highest regard I think seen in a lot of cases, right? Like their brand is so important to them. But yeah, these AI tools, they're gonna evolve quick, and we're gonna see it change fast. So share your thoughts, drop a comment. I know Twitter is not the right place for this discussion, unfortunately. There's not enough civil discourse on Twitter, and that's kind of the nature of the culture of Twitter. And I'm gonna take that bullet. It's fine. I accept it. But yeah, if you're creative out there, talk to the people you know. Talk about it in the industry, because if people aren't talking about it and just saying no AI and then not really saying much about it after like one or two comments, it's gonna move forward faster than you could even react to it by the time you care. So be proactive with it. Share your thoughts. If you know something I don't, or if I had misspoke about anything in particular, do share it. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to learn about it. And we are, again, continuing this series. So we are not streaming another one of these until Monday. I think I misspoke in one of the previous episodes, but we do, excuse me. Let me actually go full screen here too while I'm at it. Yeah, we're going to be doing these Monday through Friday. Again, the goal is to do 1 to 3 episodes a day. On average, it's probably going to be more like 1 to 2 episodes, because if we have collaborations planned for the evenings for, hanging out with the community, playing games, meeting new people. Hopefully we have more opportunity to meet some new people here in the near future this year. Yeah, keep an eye out for that. And speaking of next week, with Monday through Thursday, I guess ad hoc, we've decided from the comments earlier that the Exploring AI episode on Monday will be a community edition. So I've already noticed that a couple of people in my Discord have sent me something. We got a hilarious stick figure, and looks like Hero King Soul, who was in the chat earlier, has sent me an image that he's going to let us use. So if anyone out there is watching this over the weekend or on Friday and would like to be involved or would like to contribute and see what happens with their works and what kind of variations the AI treats it as, do be aware, however, that if we enter the art into the AI, I guess, I don't know, do we call it an algorithm? That art will be in the system, right? It will be consumed by it. So I will double check with the two that have sent me something already, but you can reach me on Twitter. My social is in the description. And if you would like to rather send it to me over email, you can find our email in the About section on YouTube. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you everyone who was hanging out with us. Let us know what you thought. And we look forward to exploring more AI and our thoughts around it. And I'm sure I will be learning more about it over this weekend so that we can explore more next week. So this was, again, Dregn Durant of the Asido 0088. Thank you, everybody. If I don't see you, if I don't talk to you, or if I don't see you in the chat during our live streams this evening, we are also streaming for collaboration tomorrow for Helldivers. And we'll be doing Back for Blood on Saturday for a special anniversary for a couple of our friends that we've played with before. Those reminder videos will likely appear tomorrow. Have a great weekend. And again, if we haven't already exchanged those words, Happy New Year to everybody, and let's go 2023. Excited. Let's go. All right. Take it easy, everybody. Catch you next time. Bye. Peace.